let's talk about development finance. How much money can I get, and what are the requirements?
So development finance, depending on the lender, you could raise as much as 60 at the moment. I'd say, to be safe, about 60% of purchase price, and then 100% of build cost. You could probably push it to 70 as well. There was a time you could get 80. You just put in 20%, but now obviously more like 60. The cost that you need to obviously put in yourself is obviously 40% to purchase, and not unforeseen, but other costs like valuation, survey, if there's any structural calculations that need to be done to put the lender's mind at ease, all that sort of stuff, legal fees you have to pay. Obviously, you can get it back from development finance at a later time, but looking at the cash flow, obviously you need to be able to pay these, and sometimes as well. So, say for example, you're doing a building, right, and you have to take the roof off to add a couple of floors. If you take the roof off, you've basically devalued the property, which means they're not going to pay you your sort of money that you need until you add value to the property. So you've got to be careful with all stuff like that. We can dive more into it in another video, because there's a big list of stuff that could go wrong or whatever. The requirements to raise money, basically, you need a project that's profitable. Usually, I think that what they're looking for is about 25% on return on cost. But obviously every lender is different. So a project that's viable to do, and then experience. So what have you done that's similar to? It's a bit of a catch-22, because obviously if you've done stuff in the past that's like this, then, say for example, you've done refurbs, and now you want to move into new build. That's a whole different, you haven't got the experience in their eyes, which at that point you need to find a builder which has experience in that, and you need to bring them on board. Otherwise, you're not going to get development finance. Other requirements to raise the money is a good assets and liability sheet. It's basically obviously what you own versus what your sort of liabilities are. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. For the starters, they get the development finance. Obviously, once they give you the initial terms, then you obviously look at all the bits for the project, all the sort of technical side of it. Is everything being checked out? Is the build cost watertight? Is it going to be that? Yeah. So that's the ins and outs of getting the development finance. But obviously, it's a whole other topic once you get into development, on how to sort of work your cash flow and deal with your contractors, deal with the orders that you put in, and deal with development finance people.
Okay, in terms of development finance, where would you usually get them from? Like, are they usually banks? Are they separate to other finance companies? Where would you go and look for development finance?
There's any sort of finance house which obviously do development finance. We'll be happy to sort of. I usually use brokers, and they've got obviously a better sort of wider angle of who's happy to do what. Because a lot of these lenders, they're not just property related lenders. They do all sorts. They fund movies. They do all sorts. And if they come to market and say, now we're doing this, then the chances are the brokers then get notified, and then obviously they can then take your case to them and see if they want to fund it.
So 9 times out of 10, you'd say go through a broker
Yeah.
for development finance.
You
They'd, they'd probably find the best deal.
you pay them 1%, but you know, unless you've got that relationship with the funder yourself, which obviously in time you will build up that relationship. But if you're getting started, you need a broker.
In terms of how easy it is to get development finance, are refurbs any easier than getting a new build?
Just depends on your experience. So if you've only done refurbs in the past, it's easier to get refurbs. If not, there's a way to do it. You know, even if you had no experience whatsoever, if you can show the lender a contract with a reputable firm whose assets and liabilities are sufficient for the lender. So say, for example, the build costs £1 million,
Yeah.
and their balance sheet shows they've got a lot more than that, and they take the job on based on a set contract to deliver in X amount of time, then that covers your experience side of it. It's not, you don't have to have the experience. As long as you can build a package where your sales team is an expert, obviously they've done off-plan sales, whatever. Your builders have done this in the past and they've got a good balance sheet, and you've got a good balance sheet yourself, then, and the project is viable, then they'll be happy to lend.
Does the time scale of the project affect it at all?
Yeah, it does, yeah. So if you're doing a project that takes 3 years, that means that, the lender's money is basically tied for 3 years, and it's harder to predict what way the market's gonna go or what's gonna happen. Look at what's happened last year with all the pandemic and stuff like that. But if it's a year thing, then chances are, not much is gonna change. So it'd be easier for them to sort of lend the money.
So there you go, guys. That was an insight into development finance and the criteria needed for you to get money for a project. Now, if you've got any questions about this video, make sure you comment it down below. And if you enjoyed this video, drop us a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And if you don't already, head over to our social media channels and give us a follow there. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.